I've really been. I'm a voracious reader. I don't say that to brag. I just say that to give context and foundation to how my mind be working, right? And so I just be reading, and I think you should read too. If you're not a reader. Anyway, I've been reading a lot about and reading a lot about Napoleon. I've always gone back and forth. Napoleon really is one of my favorite figures from history to read about. It's very fascinating, and I know I've had people criticize me. Or I've had discussions with guys be like, "Well, what about especially my community, black people, talk about Toussaint and talk about Hannibal, how they were black and they were just as good or better than Alexander the Great and Napoleon, but there's not a ton of literature on them. So if you got any literature, if you guys know any literature on like Toussaint from Haiti, who was like they call him the Black Napoleon, please let me know. But there's a abundance of literature on um on Napoleon. And just because he's a white man, don't mean you can't study him. I say that as an aside to people who have criticized my like of Napoleon. But anyway, um, I just like reading about great leaders, right? That's how my mind works. That's what I like to do. I like reading about great leaders, especially in war, because I've been sitting with this idea of battlefield, the mind being a battlefield, life being a game, war, all this chess, all that, right? And I came to this thought right now that clarity is the battlefield of leadership. And almost every leadership struggle can be traced back to one root cause, and that's unclear communication. And the cure is often the same thing as the symptom: better communication. Most leaders, and I'm witness to this, I can bear witnesses. I'm around my colleagues, I'm around some very capable guys, some very astute leaders in their own right. Um, most of them, none of them are incompetent. They're not malicious, but this is just from observation. Many are undercutting their own influence because they haven't mastered the discipline of communicating like a leader. And I've come to see that. And God gave me clarity on this. And if you've been around long enough, you already know most leadership problems are just communication problems in disguise, right? That might sound obvious, but it's not so obvious. Why do some? If it's so obvious, why do so many people still fumble it? Because real communication is hard. Real communication, like a leader to a team of people who have a team of people who have a team of people, that's hard. Anyway, brutally hard. Anyway, um, just think about how easy it is to think you're being clear. It's easy to assume that people get it, but the higher you rise, the more you level up in leadership in like an organization or any endeavor in life. You got to understand, the heavier the weight of your words, the more senior level positions you assume, nothing is casual. Every phrase gets dissected, every silence gets interpreted, and every choice of tone signals something to someone. Now, the good news is that if you didn't know that before, right now you have that awareness. You have to know that. You have to be aware of that. You have to operate from that place. Um, so much of leadership sits outside of our control. We know this. Your communication habits don't. It's right in the middle of your sphere of influence. And if you're willing to sharpen that edge in communication, you can really change outcomes faster than you'd imagine. And I've learned this through experience, through observation. Great leaders, first of all, great leaders practice, and they practice great communication through three simple disciplines: say it, repeat it, and they frame it. Okay? Great leaders say it, repeat it, and frame it. Say it, repeat it, and frame it. Okay, when you say it, um, silence is a strategy sometimes. Silence is also abdication. It's yielding. It's giving up. It's sometimes silence is, um, the moment you hesitate to speak, that's when the rumor mills begin to fill the vacuum. Then the longer you delay, the more energy gets drained out of your. God damn, that's what it is out here. The more you delay, um, that can really drain the energy out of your team. People literally need clarity. It's like oxygen. Your people can't breathe without it. People can't the people can't operate in ambiguity. I've really learned this. So maybe you're stalling on a tough conversation. You're hoping for a better time. It won't come. Get on it. Maybe you spotted a smarter path, but you're nervous about challenging someone, your boss, about it. Get over that. Maybe you're watching confusion swirl around different definitions of the same project. Have a conversation about it. Get to the root of it. Or maybe you're holding back your vision, waiting for the perfect rollout moment. I can attest to this. No, all of these things share one disease. It's a lack of communication, a lack of clarity. And the antidote is simple: open your mouth. Open your goddamn mouth. And I'm talking to myself. Okay, share it. That's what I'm doing right now. Sharing it, sharing my thoughts. Um, and I exercise this in my personal endeavors, my business endeavors, my career endeavors, to just say it directly. Ask the hard question. Speak the truth kindly, but say what needs to be said right now. And then repeat it. If you only said it once, you didn't say it. Humans forget, humans reinterpret. Okay, we tune stuff out. And that's why leaders repeat what really matters. If you notice that, I had to really go back, and when I started thinking about this, because start reverse engineering my own process, I see how I have to repeat myself on certain things, my philosophy. Certain things I won't repeat myself, and I'll tell them I'm not going to repeat myself on this. And that's just usually like instructions on something, right? But my philosophy, I repeat it over and over and over. My people know it before I even say it, sometimes before it comes out of my mouth. And that's what you want, okay? Because um, because I'll say something 10 times in 10 ways until it sticks. And then you'll know when this is necessary, when you thought you were clear, but your team walked away with a different version of clarity. Okay. If you've explained your priorities, your goals, your principles, but your um, whoever your boss or your subordinates, they forget and they have to ask again, you weren't clear enough. Um, you can't. You maybe perhaps you announce something and people are still, like a change. You demonstrate and implement a new change in operations, but people still operate the old way. You haven't been clear. You haven't communicated yourself. Okay, and it can be frustrating, but that's why repetition is the mother of clarity. Repetition is what you have to do to gain your influence. You need to become sick of hearing yourself say something. Um, until you're sick of hearing yourself, no one else has even started remembering what you said. Okay, you're gonna get sick of telling yourself, but you have to understand they haven't even begun to remember what you said, your philosophy. Okay, so you have to say it with clarity, and repeat it, and repeat it, and repeat it, and repeat it, and then for the this is really the hardest part. The hardest part of communication isn't speaking, isn't saying or repeating. It's shaping the frame because um, if you frame something really well, people will rally around that. You frame a goal and an idea, an ideal people will galvanize behind that. If you frame it poorly, it doesn't matter how much you say it, no amount of repetition will save you because you haven't framed it correctly. Like you've seen this before. You thought you were aligned with your boss, but your framing made it sound like you weren't. They took your you were misaligned. You had a miscommunication. Perhaps you shared um, something that was to your team that was very neutral, some kind of update, but everybody read it like it was a doom and gloom. They wanted to go between the lines. They read more into it than what you was actually put there. Um, are you seeing where maybe perhaps you spotted a looming problem, but you just missed the opportunity to set the narrative correctly, something that in a way that would navigate it constructively for everyone. Okay, so great leaders have to listen. They have to understand. They have to listen before they frame, because you can't frame. You have to use someone's own motivations to frame it according to their signals and what makes up their language, their priorities, and what matters to them. Okay. Great leaders pick up on that, what motivates someone, and then you prioritize that around them. Okay. That message. Wrap that message inside that context. Okay. And if you do this well, and um, after that, if you do this well, you're not just being heard. You're able to steer the conversation, and you're infusing your communication, your message to that person or to that team. And then people are never confused after that when you frame it according to their motivations, what makes sense to them. Um, that's the essence of leadership communication. Remember, people don't demand certainty from you, they crave clarity. Not just certainty, they need clarity. Clarity doesn't mean you're always right. It means you're decisive enough to act. I've talked about this before. And then you're transparent enough to explain and humble enough to adjust. That mix of decisiveness, that humility, it becomes, and if it's consistent, it's magnetic. It draws people, makes people want to follow you. And you know, it's not about grand speeches. It can be sometimes, but sometimes it's about the repetition. Say the same thing. Say the thing. Repeat the thing. Frame the thing. And if you do this consistently enough, you'll find yourself um, being able to rule not through force or fear, but out of a foundation of trust and influence and a lasting impact, something that's really real, it's impactful with people. And the real challenge is just finding your communication, because that's the crown that you wear, King. Okay, that's all really I got for you. Um, Peace and blessings.